Guys, the internet as we know it is about to end. And it really sucks because the internet was the last bastion of freedom on this planet for a long time. I remember the early days of the internet where you could get into MySpace, all these chat forums, and exchange views freely. There wasn't all the division and arguments we have now. People were exploring new ideas, new concepts, and creativity was flowing. I mean, back when I first started going on YouTube, it was amazing. I'd get up for work in the morning, start ironing my shirt, put on a new video, and it was always something different, made by independent creators, people making stuff out of their basements, things like Chocolate Rain, The Farting Preacher.
Listen closely.
The Low Voice Guy. I mean, just great stuff. We will never see that again. And that's because today, the UK announced that they will be rolling out the most comprehensive, most authoritarian, and most censorious legislation the world has ever seen when it comes to the internet. And this is a big deal, guys. You know, that slippery slope argument we're always making, where we say, oh, the left are just going to chip away at our liberties bit by bit by bit. Well, they turned that slippery slope into a cliff. And it is a slippery slope, guys. We've been vindicated with everything we've said would happen. Starting back with Michael Savage in 2009, when he was banned from entering the UK, and the reason they gave was that his speech might incite somebody to go out and do violence. Not that it does do that, but it might do that. Well, that's in this law, guys. And Michael Savage is milquetoast compared to a lot of us on the right. Look at Count Dankula, 2017. Count Dankula is arrested. The exact thing he was arrested for, that's covered under this too. And we'll get into what's in this law because it's a horror show. And the thing is that this law is the vindication of all of these slippery slope arguments that have been made over the past couple of years. And the thing that's so dangerous about this incrementalism is that you just wake up one day enslaved and you didn't even see it happening. Because it's happened so slowly and so gradually. You know, if the people of the United Kingdom had everything that's happening now to them dumped on them 15 or 20 years ago, they'd all be in the streets with one of these, revolting. But of course, they had these taken away incrementally too, so that's out the window. And there's nothing they can do about it anymore. The government doesn't care what they want. They've shown this time and time again. Right now, they're showing it with Brexit. They're saying, let's have another vote. Well, even if they had another vote and the people voted again for Brexit, the government would just give them the middle finger. And of course, they'll get slandered on the state-owned BBC called racist, and they'll say they need more cultural enrichment. And then they'll bring in millions more of the cultural enrichers so that their agendas get pushed through because these people go along to get along. Until they don't. Until they feel empowered and have enough of a majority to where they decide to start causing chaos as they have throughout Europe and in some parts of the UK. But, you know, if you criticize that, you'll get punished under these new laws. Of course, the punishment won't be evenly applied. And we'll get into that in a minute. Let me read to you what it says. This is straight from the UK's own website, from their Department of Culture, which of course is exactly what it sounds like, a social justice governmental regulatory agency. Says the UK to introduce the world's first online safety laws. The government today unveiled tough new measurements that would ensure the UK is the safest place in the world to be online. Well, doesn't that sound swell? We'll be all so cozy and safe in our little padded cells and our internet ghettos, where the only thing we'll be allowed to do is participate in commerce and have our data mined by our corporate overlords. But it'll be all worth it because nobody will be offended. And you think I'm being hyperbolic? Let me read to you what's in this law. It says the agency will set up an internet safety czar, an independent regulator who will be tasked with dealing with problems such as, number one, inciting violence and spreading violent content. So right there, you know, anybody who's a nationalist, they're gone. I'll be amazed if any of us survive in the UK on YouTube. And you Antifa idiots, you think you're exempt, but what is it the right always say? The useful idiots are the first ones to go to the gulag. They're coming for you too. They'll go after these people on Twitter who tried to dox me. Luckily, I'm undoxable because I answer to nobody except God. But they'll go after those people. That's them right there. These people are calling for violence against people. They're not doing any research, but calling people Nazis and trying to destroy their lives. Yeah. And they'll go after the left-wing websites like It's Going Down. They'll go after the videos they share of them getting violent at the protests. So this affects everybody. Nobody's safe. You can see that with number 2, which is stopping the encouragement of self-harm. Now, does that apply to the fat acceptance movement? Probably not. Not right now, because the fat acceptance movement is trendy and it is part of their agenda. But give it time. It'll boomerang. Once their little socialized medicine department over there, the NIH, decides that there are too many fatties and it's costing the state too much money, they'll go after the fat acceptance movement. And they'll use this law for that. Number 3, stopping the spread of disinformation and fake news. Well, that's great. Fake news according to whom? And, of course, that's going to include everything that's not EU-approved news. Stuff like the BBC. And they're the fakest news around. If you don't believe me, go watch the video that Tommy Robinson just put out where he busted them on camera trying to create a fake propaganda piece about him. Number 4, stopping cyberbullying. Now, this is another one that could mean anything. Today, for the 1 millionth time, I was banned from Twitter. And for what? For cyberbullying. Now, what did I do? I said, not all migrants are rapists and murderers, but some are. And I was commenting on something somebody else posted, calling Trump a racist because he said that Mexico's sending rapists and murderers over. I said Trump was right. Some of them are rapists and murderers. And they banned me because I'm bullying migrants, I guess. Number 5. Child exploitation and abuse. They're going to try to address child exploitation and abuse online. And thank God, somebody's going to finally go after these people who are putting their children online, dressing them in drag, giving them sex hormones, and having them stripped for adult males. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. They're never going to go after those people. But they probably will go after some kid with a right-wing YouTube channel. They're definitely not going to go after pedophiles. They might go after some low-level pedos, but they are the pedophiles. They are the head of that snake. Most of the people involved with writing this law were hanging out at Jimmy Savile's little pedo parties a few years back. So, yeah, I mean, the royal family, look at their history with pedophilia. It's disgusting. It's pervasive. Now, I've been talking as if this law only applies to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, but that's just a minority of the sites that this law covers. And that's what's really scary about it, because it will include your own private sites. It says it covers all file hosting sites and online forums. So there goes 4chan. 4chan and 8chan are gone. Gab, gone. Dissenter, gone. Minds.com, history. And they're going to go after smaller sites too and different sites. They'll go after things from the smallest little WordPress blog all the way to sites like the Daily Caller and Drudge. Everything's going to be a target. And it's not just for fines. They specifically say that they'll go after people with criminal charges for violating any of the things we talked about here. And it won't be a jury of your peers that judges you whether your tweet was inciting violence or maybe bullying somebody. It's all this government agency. So I want to ask you guys, what good does this law do? What good do any of these laws that have impacted Europe so negatively over the past 2 decades, what good do any of them do? Because besides protecting people's precious little eyes and ears from anything offensive or violent, I don't see the point in these laws, and they're not even meant to do that. These laws are about one thing. They're not about protecting people, except for one group of people, and that is the global elite. These laws are meant to crush dissent and protect the global elite from anyone who might expose them. And they're getting exposed thanks to the internet. Because of a free internet, we now know the banking families of Europe have funded every war since the Napoleonic era. We know that the royal families of Europe are a bunch of weird pedophiles. Without a doubt, this is what they want, to crush dissent, because their dream of a one-world dystopic nightmare of a government that they all rule over, with the rest of us all state-dependent and enslaved, it's so close they can almost feel it. But there's one little thing in the way, and that's a free internet. So it's time for people in the UK to have their own yellow vest movement. It's time. Guys, you can support this channel at paypal.me, not paypal.com, but paypal.me/HailHydra1. And please do support the channel. Right now I have some family that are going through some stuff, and we have their kids here. You can hear them in the background, so it would be a big help. And yeah, share the video. More importantly, share the video. Get this out there. I'll see you guys later.